So I used to justify my decision to leave nursing until I realized what I'm gonna talk about in this video. So if you're a nurse who's been going back and forth with this decision, you feel like you need to over explain yourself when it comes to the fact that you want to leave nursing, this video is going to do you good. Okay. So, okay. So I realized several things on this journey of me becoming a nurse and me leaving nursing back in 2021. If you don't know me, if you're new here, my name is Mel and I'm a former registered nurse. I left nursing back in 2021. I just felt like I was meant for something else. I was tired of going in and out of burnout cycles. And so I decided to follow my gut, to follow my intuition, and to walk away, to not go back into nursing. So what I realized on my journey of what I realized in my journey of leaving nursing, healing through the burnout, healing through all the things that I picked up along my journey is that I used to think that I needed permission from other people related to my decision around walking away from nursing. But what I really needed was to learn how to trust myself with that decision. So it took a lot of unlearning different beliefs, different mindsets around, what society instills in us when it comes to careers and when it comes to being a nurse and when it comes to having like a quote unquote stable career, a respectable profession. Like I had to unlearn different versions of success that were placed onto me that I thought that I had to chase. It was a bunch of unlearning, a bunch of unlearning and a bunch of healing when it came to that journey. So, yeah, like even a couple years ago, I wouldn't have been sitting here talking to you about, well, not a couple years ago. Let's go back because I feel like I was talking about my journey some in my entrepreneur journey a couple years ago. So a few years back, I wouldn't have been talking about this openly like I am now. But there was this weight that came with feeling like I had to over explain myself or I had to explain myself in the first place because so many people look up to you for being a nurse. So many people look up to you for your profession. So many people, they thank you for your service. They're appreciative that you're a healthcare worker and that you're saving people's lives and all that good stuff. So the role in itself comes with this this guilt if you want to walk away or if you no longer feel passionate about it or if you no longer feel like nursing is something that you want to continue to do. So there's these emotions that come up, the guilt, there's shame, there's confusion because you went to school, you did all of this schooling, you put all of this energy and effort into becoming a nurse. So when you feel like you need to justify yourself to other people about your decision, is really because you feel like you need to justify it with yourself because everybody outside of us and all the interactions that we have is just a projection of what's really going on internally. So you still feel like you need to justify your decision with you. You haven't came to a place yet where you're okay with your decision. Okay. So there's this weight that comes with feeling like you got to explain yourself to everybody. And it just adds even more weight to your it adds even more to your plate. It adds even more stress, more dread of feeling like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to explain myself to family or to my partner or to my friends or to my coworkers. But I want to say this loud and clear. I realized that all those people, like their opinions really didn't matter. The person whose opinion matters the most is your own because you're currently in this situation. So the people who you feel like might not understand, the people who you feel like you have to justify yourself to, the people who I felt like I had to justify myself to, yeah, they were proud of me for becoming a nurse. They were proud of me for getting into the nursing profession, but they weren't the ones clocking in. They weren't the ones dealing with the dread and the stress and the burnout and the overwhelm and the constant mental chaos, the nurse brain, like, they weren't the ones dealing with those things. So, there came a point where I really had to just sit with myself and see what it was that I was gaining from staying where I was, even though I knew I wanted to leave, and see what I was sacrificing by staying where I was, even though I knew I wanted to leave. So for me, the the bad outweighed the good when I sat down and I weighed it out. So I had to go with my gut. Even though I felt like people might judge, even though I felt like people might not understand, even though I felt like people just wouldn't, like, I felt like they just wouldn't get it, but it's not their job to get it. Okay? So the realization, like the main realization that I had when it came to me learning that I really did not need to justify my decision was when I looked at the lives of the people around me and I saw that they were not fulfilled. Most of them weren't fulfilled, most of them weren't happy, most of them weren't excited to wake up, they weren't fulfilled with what they do for work, they weren't fulfilled with how they feel every day. They were always complaining, they were always just not feeling their best. So I'm like, "Okay, do I really wanna take advice from people who aren't where I want to be? Do I really wanna take advice from people who are not happy?" So if your goal is to really be fulfilled in life, if your goal is to really be happy, then it makes sense not to take advice from people who aren't fulfilled or people who aren't really happy with their lives, right?